Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of NFTs for Breakfast. I'm Vanta.
Hi, I'm Wavy.
And I'm Troyman, and we make NFTs as easy as ABCs. So, we're going to get started by the news, what the big news is in NFT at this moment. So I was going to throw this to Vanta. What is some of the big stuff that's happening right now?
Well, I think the biggest news that everyone's talking about right now has to do with Azuki. Sorry, the founder came out with a letter yesterday talking about how he was previously part of 3 projects, CryptoFunks, Tendies, and Zunks. And he basically kind of abandoned those projects and he started Azuki, which is a blue chip project. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are like, why did you abandon those projects? Like, those were rugs. Like, how can a founder of a big project be a rug puller? Like, there's so much commotion with that. And so there was a Twitter Spaces today hosted by Andrew Lang, who did an amazing job hosting. And people were just asking questions. Well, he was having a little problem with pulling people up. So he was reading questions that people were sending him. And Zagaban was just kind of answering the questions. But, I mean, at the end of the Twitter Spaces, he had not apologized. He didn't apologize in his letter for rugging those 3 communities. He didn't apologize on Spaces for doing wrong to those communities and kind of, I guess, like lied about his identity, right? Because for each project, he had a different identity.
That's true.
So, that was like a big controversy and everyone's still talking about it. He just posted an apology on Twitter saying, he messed up. He's sorry to those communities. But it just feels so ingenuine to me. And my personal opinions about this project, I mean, I loved the Azuki artwork. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to get an Azuki myself, but now I'm just like, why? It's just unfortunate that this community has to go through that, because I heard that the community is a group of really great people.
Yeah. Just for edification for our listeners, what is a rug pull? Wavy, do you want to go through what a rug pull is?
It's essentially when somebody creates a NFT project, and then after they sell it, it sells out, they make some money from it, they just stop being active. So sometimes they could delete the Discord server, delete the Twitter handle, Instagram, whatever the case may be, and pretty much just take the money, and that NFT just becomes worthless because there's nothing happening with that collection anymore. So essentially that's what a rug pull is. And then for this, wasn't there a lot of controversy or confusion because people felt like Zagaban released that letter like on Monday just out of nowhere? Like, I felt like people on Twitter were like, wait, did the founder of Azuki just expose himself for rug pulling? Like, I feel like there was a lot of confusion and controversy in that aspect, because they're like, why would he just create this letter? And I heard that another project, maybe Cool Cats or some other project, was going to expose him, and he got wind of it. So he exposed himself first to say, hey, look, that's why it looked like he just did it out of nowhere. But then he was just trying to cover his butt, I guess, pretty much, because he knew that someone else was going to expose him. So he kind of put a twist on it, saying like, oh, no, they're not rug pulls. They were like lessons, essentially.
Yeah, so like that's the big thing he kept saying, like, oh, they were all learning lessons. But it was addressed in the Twitter Spaces, like, were you planning? So there was actually controversy that was stirring up, and more people were talking about it. And so that's why he did release a letter before it got like really big, right? But he said him and his team were always intending to release a letter. They just didn't know like the right time to. And the letter getting released was just accelerated because more and more people were talking about, hey, the Zegaban like rug all these projects, etc. So, I mean, I don't know if I believe him, but he says there was always intent to discuss it with the community. But
I see.
Yeah.
So he's trying to just get ahead of the scandal, essentially.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
I think he has a great PR team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of money now, so.
Yeah, and I mean, his like attitude on Spaces, I was like, how can you just dismiss questions from people that, you know, are like genuinely invested in your community? Like, you should, you know, if they're concerned, and even if you address the question, maybe they missed it, you should still answer the question and not have an attitude about it because you're the one who did them wrong.
Right.
That's just a feeling I got from the Spaces.
Yeah, just to like play both sides, like when do you have freedom from a collection? Like, is there such a thing as bankruptcy in Web3? Like, what if he actually tried with these projects and it just failed? Like, people just wasn't into it. At what point can he say, okay, this project is a failure, like I want to try something new, and then move on to another project without it being considered a rug pull?
Well, you know, I don't know if there's a definitive answer to that yet because, you know, Web3 is so new, but these communities, CryptoFunks and Zunks, they're like still ongoing communities. So for him to still be a holder of their contract, but to not be a part of the community at all, like
I see.
Is that something you can like pass on? Like you're like, oh, I no longer want to run this. Can I get somebody else to do it for me?
Yes. So
I believe you can, yeah.
Yeah, that is what he said in his apology, that he's going to hand over the contracts from CryptoFunks and Tendies and Zunks to whoever is running the community now. And I'm like, well, why didn't you do that sooner? Like, it's just kind of sketchy.
So essentially he was just collecting royalties from those communities without being active. I see.
Exactly.
Okay, never mind. He's an ass.
That's why it's like a rug, you know? Like, I mean, like, how can you do that to his communities? Like, he's still getting royalties from it.
That's true. Okay, I see.
It's pretty jacked up.
Yeah, but I mean, he did say in his apology that he's going to redistribute the funds that, you know, he collected from those projects. But once again, he has a great PR team.
So aside from that, I guess I kind of want to talk about the state of, I guess, crypto and NFTs in general. We are in what is called a bear market right now. I think that is for a lot of reasons. I think Other Side had something to do with it when they like kind of drained everything, and then
and moonbirds,
that's right. And then I'm sure there's a lot of other factors that went into it, like just, I guess, general faith in projects and stuff. So Wavy, I wanted to ask you, what is a bear market and how does that compare to a bull market?
Yeah, so a bear market is like when you lose a lot of money. So essentially, like, the market is just going down, prices are falling. I guess people are scared for various reasons, like you mentioned. So confidence is pretty low. And I guess the supply is just greater than what the demand is currently. So it's very hard to sell off or trade, and if you do, it's going to be like at a loss essentially, because you know, prices are just falling down. And essentially that's what a bear market is. It's just confidence is low, prices are down. And the opposite of that is the bull market, and where, you know, prices are rising again, people are encouraged to buy. There's great signs in the space. So people are just encouraged by, you know, what's happening overall in like the NFT space. So they'll start buying more. And at that point, essentially, like any project you get into, you probably could make some sort of profit just because all the prices are rising essentially.
I wonder where they got those names from. Like bull, it's like just charge ahead forward kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they
so.
are stock terms that they just brought to Web3 space.
I'm such a noob about stocks, so clearly. But yeah, okay, so that's good reference, because I remember when I first started like getting into this, people would say bear market, bull market, and I'd be like, okay, cool, I'll just Google that later because I have no idea what you're talking about.
If I can touch on one thing again from the Azuki project. So Zagaban put a big emphasis about him like learning from each of the projects. And one of the things that he did learn from the Zunks project was the thing that came out of the Zunks project is the ERC 721A contract, right? Which I think we addressed in our last video. So he did actually come up with something that was a game changer for the community. So I'm wondering, like, he actually learned something from that project, but he abandoned. How much credit do we give him for, advancing the Web3 space so much with the new type of contract? But then how much do we discredit him for rugging on those 3 projects?
Well, I guess this is like a question of do we give him a second chance, right? Because if he actually follows through with all of his promises in that letter, like if he actually does redistribute all the money that he made during the time when he wasn't really doing anything for the projects, and he doesn't do anything like this again, then I would say, okay, maybe he really did learn his lesson, but I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like this is such like a big like stumbling block in the Web3 space, especially because it is a bear market. Like, so many communities are down already, and so many people are already skeptical about coming into the space that I'm like, oh, is this going to put a big dent or, a huge step back for Web3? And how is it going to affect Web3 moving forward?
Ooh, do you think it'll have that big of an impact?
Well, I think for upcoming projects, it will have an impact because communities are not going to trust their founders as much, I feel like. They're going to want their founders to dox, and they're going to want to know, like, if they were part of previous projects. Do you have any other aliases? I mean, like, if I was part of the Azuki project or Zunks or Funks, I would be like, yeah, it's kind of like traumatic for people, Yeah. So I'm wondering how much that's going to affect, Web3 moving forward, and like what kind of expectations are the communities going to have for founders of projects?
Do you actually consider those factors when you get into a project? Like, do you see, hey, is the founder doxed? Do I know this person's previous projects before you like buy a collection?
Me personally, yes and no. There are projects that I get into and I'm like, oh, this person was a part of this project and I really like that project. Or I know this person used to work at Disney. And I think, that's like a good background to come from. But I don't do that for all projects. Like, I'm a big fan of Wonder Pals, but I didn't know Mina's background before I got into the project. I just really like the art and the community itself. But that was pre-Azuki scandal, right? So I'm wondering if that's going to affect it post-Azuki scandal.
Yeah, I feel like there's always been like a conversation around like founder transparency. And I feel like there's always been like, a debate and going back and forth as to how important that is. I think with this Azuki scam, that's definitely bringing it back into light. For me personally, yeah, I don't know. Because for some projects I do. I think I'm a little bit biased too, because I'm also a fan of Wonder Pals, and I just knew that Mina was Korean, so I was like, awesome, I'm in. And that's like one of the main reasons why I bought it. I was like, I just want to support, Koreans. But for sometimes other projects, I'm like, oh, this art looks cool, or I just want to trade this, or I just want to sell it and make a quick flip or whatnot. To be honest. So yeah, I guess for me, it doesn't really matter too much about founder transparency. However, I know that's probably like an important factor for a lot of people. For me, my expectations of a founder, honestly, is like, I would hope that person is like ethical and have good morals. I would hope, but also more than that, I think I just want that person to be like innovative with their collection. And just bring value to the project, build a great community. Even just like something as simple as playing games with your community, I think it's important. It just shows that, you care, like you want to have fun with, it could be like a small group of people, but you still want to have fun with them and you care that they're in your, community. So you want to take the time to hang out with them, get to know them a little bit and just have fun with them. I think that's important.
Let's see, for me, I don't know if it would change my opinion. Like, I'm a very like fly by the seat of your pants type of person. So like, I look a little bit before I jump, but I don't look that much. So like, it's more of a gut feeling a lot of the time, which has gotten me in trouble many times. But it's like, oh, I like this. So it's like, oh, this sounds like a good idea, and maybe I'll look a little bit into like who they collaborated with, and if it's like people I know, then I'm like, okay, I think this is gonna do well. But I don't look too into anything else like on top of that, which is not the best approach when it comes to NFTs. I mean, it hasn't hurt me yet, but I think it will. So I'm just like waiting for that one dangerous moment. But yeah, for personally me, I don't think it'll affect me too much.
Yeah.
See, I think I've been a part of projects where the community wanted the founders to dox, but the founders did not want to dox for various reasons. I don't know what those reasons exactly are. They just didn't want to, and that created so much FUD, and that project completely failed. Like, no one minted.
Wow, that sucks.
And I understand like the community side, like, hey, we want to know like who our founders are. Like, if we're going to support a project, like, we want to know who we're supporting. But
that's true.
I'm also wondering, like, what did the founders have to hide that they were so adamant about not doxing themselves?
I wonder if like, okay, so I mean, there are some people that really value privacy, right? So like, the idea of you being able to look them up on social media and then like find out where they live, it's just like because once you know someone's real name, it's not that hard to find out really personal things about them, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, a friend of a friend of a friend will be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. So like, it could happen with like the millions of people that are on Twitter or whatever. I could see that being one of the reasons why, or it could be that they have a shady past. But yeah, I know there are some people that really value privacy, and I could see them being freaked out about like all these people knowing who they are.
Yeah. But I feel like that's kind of a thing that you have to take on if you want to be a founder of a project.
Oh yeah,
actually, that you will have to dox because you are essentially going to be leading a community of thousands of people.
Yeah. So I actually agree with what you're saying. I think that the founders should be willing to do so if it's asked of them. I understand why they wouldn't, but that's not them. They screw themselves over, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do believe that if a founder wants to be successful, they should have the mentality that at some point I might need a dox.
Yeah. I mean, some people go into the projects like fully doxed, and you know, I guess it's like each project's personal, like the founder's personal opinions. But I mean, if a community is saying like, hey, just dox so we know you're like legit people, I don't know why they won't.
Yeah, it's just there's just some people.
Shady past.
Yeah.
I know, right? There's gotta be something shady there. It happened with, was it Crocodids? Were you guys part of that at all?
No.
Coco, dude, no.
I don't know what happened, but everyone like flooded and left, and I guess the founders were doing something shady or something. I'm not 100% sure. DYOR.
Do your own research.
DYOR.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know that project didn't mint either.
All right, so I think we're coming to the end of our time here. The last thing I wanted to see was if we had any projects that we're interested in, and I don't think Vanta or Wavy have anything for today. I have one that I'm interested in. Once again, I said this before, but I really like the metaverse projects where you get an actual piece of land. I know we talked a lot about Other Side last week. That one is cool, but I knew that I was not going to have any chance of getting it just because of the way the system was built, so I didn't even try. This one that I am interested in is called Meme Land, and it's kind of similar to like Arcade Land, which I also talked about. And one thing that really stood out to me was that Gary Vee is like a collaborator with the project, or I don't know, he's doing something with the project. So yeah, it caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, this seems like something that I'd be interested in getting. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that meme land. Okay, with that, is there anything else that we would like to talk about?
Keep going at it, everyone. We will get out of this bear market.
All right, well.
Or you can see it as like a fire sale. Since everything is down, you're like, hey, if you want to get into a project, you could buy it for cheap right now.
Yeah, I bought into Wonder Pals the other day, and
welcome to the PAL community.
I'm pretty happy about it. I was like, ooh, this is a cool one too. So
we're part of the hoodie crew, Steve. When are you gonna join the hoodie crew?
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I'm a part of the dog crew and the bunny crew, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you get. I'll get there one day.
You're the critters crew then.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I actually bought an actual hoodie from their gift store, so the gift shop. So I'm actually a part of the hoodie crew.
You'll be a hoodie crew, okay?
Yeah.
Like one day when we all get our hoodies, we'll all just wear it for an episode.
I didn't get a hoodie, but I got a t-shirt and a hat.
Oh, I was gonna get the hat. I didn't get the hat. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.